Greetings, greetings, greetings. God bless you. This is Robert Wilkinson here in Winfield, Kansas at our training center. As a matter of fact, I'm in the training, you might call it the sanctuary, I guess, where we took over a 100-year-old church. Greetings, replay viewers. Say hi to you guys that are going to be watching this. So I'm here in the sanctuary. The reason is we have our AV equipment, our broadcast equipment down here in the sanctuary because we were practicing for a live stream. We were practicing for a live online class we're going to be doing, which is something new for us. So we've never done one here. In fact, I did one, the last live stream, the last online class I did was my first one in 2017. So what's that, 9 years ago? This will be number 2, which this is the exciting news, I think. We're really excited about it around here. Let me show you if I can find some of these things here. This is the class we're going to be running. And we're going to be running that August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to be running this class. So it's coming up, and that's just about, that's a month from today. Exactly. So, but we were talking about it, the board and I, Patty, Joe, and et cetera, that maybe it's time to venture out and do an online class also. In other words, we're going to have people here live, and we're also going to have people taking the class online. And I mentioned this is my second class. Here's the first one. That was the little setup back in Tampa, Florida, in our 800 square foot condo. Actually, it doesn't look crowded there. It got crowded after a while. But we'd moved everything out and made a little studio there, and we had a great class. And the reason that happened was, see if I can take that off of there. Oops, let's see here. Trying to get all this figured out. Here we go. The reason that happened was that I had posted something on Facebook, like I said, 3-day class on interpretation of tongues and prophecy. Who wants to be fluent? And I got quite a bit of response. And the more I thought about it, first of all, half the people were from overseas. Like I'd just been to Australia. There were 2 or 3 people from Australia wanted to take the class. Somebody from England wanted to take the class. Somebody from Germany wanted to take the class. Well, they're not going to fly over for a 3-day class. So those were the main ones. There was a couple people here in the United States, I suppose. So then I thought, well, we better make it something online. And then also, if you're going to do online, you're not going to be doing 3 days. You're going to be doing 1 day. So we changed it to 1 day or 1 afternoon, so to speak. And we did have a couple of people live in our studio there in our living room that they thought it was absolutely life-changing. They were astonished and amazed with the class. So it was a good class, and I didn't feel like it was totally successful with doing it online because I taught for an hour, hour and a half, however long. This was on Skype, I believe, back in the day, on Skype. So I taught for an hour, hour and a half, and then we take a 15-minute break, then we're going to come back and practice. Well, nobody came back to practice. How are you going to have a class if you can't do the practice sessions? And one of the guys from Australia, he was in a coffee shop using the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop to listen to the class in the first place. What's he going to do? Take a 15-minute break and then sit there and speak in tongues and interpret in the coffee shop? In other words, not everybody has internet, or had at that time internet like we would like for them to. So that didn't quite work. So I got a little discouraged about it. But nowadays, this is what, 9 years later. Like I say, that was October 24th, 2017. October 24th, 2017. So 9 years ago. But in the meantime, there's different classes. People have classes. They do breakout groups on Zoom. They have practice sessions. So, let's give it another shot. So, and plus, I realize not everybody can hop on a plane and get here. You could, but you know what I'm saying? It's just not practical for some people. In other words, they might not do that, but they might take the class online. So we're going to make it available online. This is, I think, the first I've mentioned it. And there's the little flyer again. I'm going to get my little graphics a little more together. So that's coming up. And right here at the Wildfire Ministries Global Training Center, here's a picture outside of it, which you guys have probably seen. That's where I am right now. So the class is coming up, and I don't think there's a class like it anywhere in the world that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't think there's another class like it in the world, because in 3 days we're going to teach the giver, the gift, and the 9 manifestations and how they operate: speaking in tongues, interpretation of tongues, prophecy, word of knowledge, word of understanding, spirit, faith, miracles, and healing. What class can you take that teaches all that? And first of all, we're going to teach what the scriptures say about it, show illustrations or examples in the scriptures. You start with the scriptures, people. That's where you start. Then we're going to have some testimonies. About it, like when I've done it, or Joe, or other people will be helping teach. Then we'll demonstrate some of these, most all of them. Then we're going to break up and have a practice session. In other words, you're not going to learn how to speak in tongues and interpret only. You're going to do it. You're going to do it on probably the first day of the class. So it's a class about doing, not just learning. We don't want to learn more of the Bible. I mean, we do, but we want to do more of the Bible. I mean, we probably know enough Bible. Most of us, a lot of us do. I mean, we can always learn more, and we are learning more. But the point is, you don't want to just ever learning, but never coming into knowledge of the truth. You want to act, do these things. You don't want to learn how to heal the sick during this class. You want to go out on Saturday and heal somebody. Why not? Why not? So that's coming up. Let's see, when did I say it was? August 22nd, 22nd, a month from today, it's starting. And we encourage you to take the class live. In fact, I have the little note about the class and what it is, and then there's a registration form. I'm sending out 75 of these today in the mail, especially to people that that we know have an interest, or at least they want to know what we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, I'm sending out everybody one of these books that I talk about every week now. So that's going out to a lot of you people. And if you're not on the list, or you don't think you're on the list, send me your address, and I'll send you a book. Let's see if I can find that real quick or not. My address, where is it? Well, just send it like, here you go. info@wildfireministriesglobal.com. So you can do that, and I will send you out a book at no charge. So that's coming up. All right, and then another thing I mentioned in the letter here was, we're going to Japan, Joe and I and several others, Ray Braska from California, et cetera, a couple others, John Curtis. September 15th, we're going to Japan for about a month, and that's exciting. But because of that, we postponed our fall advance a little bit. And this is in the letter here too that I sent out. If you ask for a book, or if you ask one, I'll send you one too, or maybe I can send you a PDF if you want to get it online. Another PS, the 2026 Fall International Believers Advance will be held October 23rd to 25th, because I think we get home the 13th, or 14th or something. So that'll give us a week to be home and get ready, and that's so in other words, that way we'll be able to give you a report of everything that went on in Japan, because it's going to be It's already lining up to be absolutely astonishing. Miracle after, we've got connections, we've got preparations, it's just going to be incredible. I can't even tell you what all. I mean, we see the handwriting on the wall. You don't see the fruit, the final fruit or product, but it's all looking like it's going to be absolutely incredible. And then let me show you this picture here. This is kind of fun, a fun one. This was our first advance here. When was this one? This was April 28th, 2023. So that was about 3 years ago. We moved here about 3 years ago, 3.5, something like that. So, and there's a little teddy bear there climbing up the ladder. And this is the class at the end, I think this is. There's our students, and we had a great, well, that was not the class, I'm sorry. That was the advance that we had, our first advance. So we're going to have another one October 23rd to 25th here at the training center. So just wanted to let you know about that. So that's good. All right, here we go. Let's get this off of here. So let's, I think those are, oh, I know one other thing. If you take the class live and or if you take it online, you're going to need one of these class syllabuses. And because it had, what I did, I took all 9 of these little books and translated them into one book. And in other words, it's easier to give somebody one book rather than 9 books in a class, and it's more effective and maybe makes more sense. So that's coming up. Which, by the way, since I grabbed a hold of these, they're translating this one into Japanese even as we speak. So we're praying and believing we can take this one, the introduction book, to Japan with us, because when you think about it, here's the, if I can get my hands on it here. Here's the one, How to Speak in Tongues, and we've got that one translated into Japanese. But that's, if you hand that to somebody, they might not be ready for that conversation. Not everybody knows what speaking in tongues is or all on board. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we find that frequently. But this one's an introduction book. It takes a step back, and I think it's going to be helpful. It's going to be amazing. And like I said in the letter, we're looking at getting 5,000 of them printed, and the English ones here, so we can give them away at different events or wherever God leads. So anyway, those are the announcements. I better stop there, else I'll keep going forever. I like announcements, actually. I like to pass along what we're doing, especially some of you people. I know many of you pray for us, and so many of you support us financially. And I mean, I'd kind of like to know, okay, what are these guys doing with the money? That's what I mean, that's common sense, isn't it? So I like to tell people what's going on. So let's get into the Word. In fact, I think I have a couple of scriptures that I want to cover. If I can find, I think I got a couple ready here, if I can find them. Here we go. We're getting this technology figured out. Here's one. For it is God which worketh in you both the will to do of his good pleasure. God is at work in your heart and life. He's at work within you. God puts desires in your heart. God puts desires, godly desires, things you can do in your heart, and they come from God. Here's another one. It says, delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. See, God puts things on your heart to do. And usually if it's something from God, it's bigger than what you're capable of. If it's something you can do without his help, then it's probably not God. If there's something he's put on your heart that's the only way it'll ever happen if God energizes it, if God makes it happen, then that's probably God. God can, will, and does put things on your heart, desires on your heart to do great things, to bless people. God will put things on your heart, and he does, and he has. Like, for example, maybe, you think, maybe I should start a homeless shelter. Maybe I should start a food bank. Maybe I should go to Nepal and teach those believers over there. They're suffering. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should teach a class on the end times. Or I don't know. Could be 500 things he could tell you to do. Just there's no limit because he needs everybody to do everything. He needs a lot of things done, and not one person can do them all. He needs all of us. And so he'll put those things, and usually there's something that's big. I mean, we're building 4 training centers. I mean, I'm not capable of that. If you know me, you know I'm not. But God is. Like somebody said, I'm going to get out of the way and let him build them. But we're praying, we're believing, we're confessing, we're speaking it out. Because I really believe that God put it, Pride and I believe, and Joe too, God put it in our heart and he wants it done. So who am I to say I can't do that? You can't go there and see God work. Oh, I can't do that. We all think that, people, at first, you know. We all think, oh, I can't do that, God. Because if you don't think I can't do that, then it's probably not God. He's not going to tell you to do some piddly-ass little thing. He's going to tell you something big, grand, bigger than what you'd think of on your own, bigger than you're capable of. If you're not capable, then you're in the right place because God is capable and he can make you capable. Here's another one. It says, and God hath put in his heart that he may teach, both he and Ahimelech, the son of that guy and of the tribe of Dan. In other words, God put in his heart that he may teach. Has God put it in your heart that you may teach? I'm telling you, God plain as day. In fact, about the time I was doing that little class that I showed you in 2017, he told me to teach. And what's your reaction? I'm no mighty teacher. Well, he didn't ask about what I thought of my teaching abilities, now did he? He said, do it. What are you going to do? Disobey? He knows who he's working with. He doesn't have the wrong person. In fact, honestly, I mean, I can sit here, I watch a lot of people, I suppose a lot of people teach online, different videos. I mean, you can watch hundreds of people teach any time of day, just punch them up on YouTube, whatever. How many people are there out there that can teach better than me? Several. You could sit there and think, gee, what am I doing? And you know what God says. He says, I'm not finished with you yet. Remember, when he called Peter and the disciples, especially Peter, I believe it was, here's when early on in Jesus' ministry, he called Peter and says, come ye after me, and I will make you to become fishers of men. Was Peter a fisher of men? No. He was a fisherman. He knew the fishing business. He made his living that way. So does his dad, so does grandpa, most likely. That's the way it worked. But God says, I will make you, Jesus said, I will make you to become fishers of men. Well, if God told you to teach, I will make you to become an effective teacher. I will make you to become a teacher. Like, he's not done with you yet. He's not done with me yet. Praise God for that. I'm going up. So are you. But God will put great things in your heart to do. And you just can't sit there and say, well, I can't do that. That's what, if you look at, like, for example, I'm getting all excited here, but for example, if he tells you to go on a mission trip somewhere, if he wants you to go to Japan to preach the gospel, let's say he wants to send somebody to Japan to preach the gospel, okay? Because they need it over there. They desperately need the gospel over there. I don't know, more so than Africa, I think. We all need it, but there's almost no Christians over there. So let's say God's going to send somebody to go over there and preach the gospel because those people need to hear it, and how they're going to preach it unless somebody hear it, let somebody preach it, and how it's going to preach, let somebody be sent. What's God do? He looks around and says, okay, let me check their bank account to see if they have enough money. Let me look around to see who has enough money to go. He doesn't care about your bank account. He's got all the gold and silver belonging to him. And if he sends you, he's going to pay for it. He's going to send the money. How's that work? Well, I mean, that's another story for another day. But it works. Why would he send you? And who goes to warfare at their own charges? When do you send a soldier over to fight overseas and he's got to pay all his own expenses? That doesn't happen, people. If God sends you out, he's paying the bill. Expect it, expect it, expect it. So anyway, let's look at, this is Joshua chapter 6. I remember hearing a teaching on this many years ago, and it's just great. Joshua chapter 6 about Gideon, remember? Talk about somebody that was unqualified. No, Judges chapter 6, sorry. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. That's not good, is it? We don't want to be doing that person. We want to obey, don't we? Okay, let's be good kids here. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. They were hiding out. They were hiding from the Midianites. And it was so when Israel had sown that in other words, they'd plant the crops like they usually do, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites and the children of East, even they came up against them, and they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth till they come to Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor ass. For they came up with their cattle in their tents. They came as grasshoppers for multitude, just thousands of them. For both they and their camels were without number. They entered into the land to destroy it. Verse 6. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites. The children of Israel cried unto the Lord. We're going to see God telling somebody to do some great things, and he's going to say, you got the wrong person. You ever thought that? I have. God knows what he's doing. He knows you. He knows what you're capable of. He knows what you're not capable of. He knows what you like. He knows what you don't like. He knows what's good for you. And he's got plans for you. So, pretty cool. And it came to pass when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, I brought you out of the land of Egypt, etc., but you did not obey my voice. See, it says did evil in the sight of the Lord. They didn't obey the voice of God. And most likely, it's always really, they were worshiping other gods. They started worshiping other. You can see it in the record if you take. We're not going to read all of it. We're just going to read some of it. Verse 11. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash the Abzarite, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. I don't think you threshed wheat in the winepress. Yeah, you make wine in the winepress, but he's hiding out. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, the Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. And Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt, from Egypt? And now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hand of the Midianites. Not true. He had a wrong understanding there, because as we know, it says, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. That's why these things happen. And later on, in verse 10 at the end, well, we'll read verse 10. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, for you have not obeyed my voice. In other words, they worship the God of the Amorites. That God does not stand for. He does not stand for that. In other words, they walked away from God. I was like, why? Where are all these miracles? Well, you guys walked away. What am I supposed to do? If you left the room, if you left my protection. And the Lord looked upon him, verse 14, and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? See, there you go. God, many times God just works in your heart to do things. In fact, we read those verses. Some of those verses come up in our class that we're going to teach. But this is an angel speaking right to him. He can do that too. I've seen angels several times. They've never said anything, but maybe they will. If you need to hear from an angel, you will. God's able to send one. So, where was I? In verse 14, the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? See, he's sending Gideon to do something Gideon don't think he can do. Is God telling you to do something you don't think you can do? Well, you can do it. You can do it. The issue is, what's God's will? If you figure that out, that's the first step. I mean, that's not the only step, but you got to do what God tells you to do. And it's not sit around watching Netflix for 8 hours a day. I'm just teasing a little bit now. He's got plans for you to make a difference in his kingdom. He does. I better hurry up. We're on 27 minutes already. And he looked upon him, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel. Verse 15. And he said to him, Oh, my Lord, wherewithal shall I save Israel? How in the heck's that going to happen? How's that going to happen, Lord? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least of my father's house. We're poverty-stricken here because of the Midianites, but we're living in poverty. Didn't I tell you, he doesn't check your bank account? Doesn't check your barn, see how much grain you got stored up? There you go. And I'm the least in my father's house. You know, there's a bunch of the guys in my father's house that are more important to me, that are, bigger than me, than, more macho than me. Verse 16. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with you, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. You're going to smack them just like it was one person. And he said unto them, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that you are talking to me. It's really you that's talking to me. So anyway, he brought a little offering for the angel, and the angel burned it up with fire, and then that was pretty cool. But you can read, then I believe he puts out the fleece. But in other words, if you look at Gideon and the way his heart's working, he wants to make sure this is God, man. He wants to make sure. Well, I get it. We want to make sure it's God working in our heart and life, right? You don't want to just dream things up and figure God's going to bless them. You know what I mean? If it's according to the scriptures, yes, but the things that God puts in our heart, he will energize, he will bless, he will bring to pass. Like, for example, I was listening to a teaching by Andrew Womack, and he went on television in 2000, the year 2000. And his ministry started growing. It doubled or tripled right away. And then now it's grown 40-fold, because that's what God wanted him to do. In fact, right before that, God said in 1999, he was talking with Andrew Womack, said, okay, now it's time to start your ministry. He'd been serving for 25 years. It's time to start. Well, he was in training. The way he figured it, must have been. But anyway, his ministry grew 40-fold, 40 times bigger. And he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. I've heard him say that with his own mouth. I mean, I wouldn't say it about him, but that's what he says about it. He knows it's got to be God. He's sharp, but none of us are that sharp. Probably none of us. But God is. Well, let's take another example. Kenneth Hagin, he had a show on, had a radio program for many years, I believe, in either Oklahoma or Texas. I think it was Oklahoma or Texas. I forget where it was, but he had a radio program, taught on the radio. So him and his son decided, his old, son getting older, he decided they would start a television program. So they started on television. They were on television for a while, and his son came to him, and the son came to Kenneth Hagin and said, "Hey, we're starting to get going into debt here over this television thing." So Kenneth Hagin prayed to God and said, "God, what's going on? I mean, we're going into debt about this television program." Here's what God said. He said, "I never told you to go on television." So he got right off of it. We just got to do what God wants us to do, people, and stay in our lane. And I know we're supposed to be teaching about the giver, the gift, and nine manifestations, and other things. Not that that's the only thing we teach, but how about you? What are you supposed to be teaching? I came across a post yesterday. A guy I know his wife real well. We lived in a little way home together years ago, a little ministry home years ago. And but he's written several books, or at least one book on the end times. Like, who knew? I don't know. God must have told him to do that. He didn't tell me to do it. I don't teach much about the end times. I'm teaching about the giver, the gifts, and nine manifestations. How about you? What are you teaching? How about you? What are you bringing to the table? How about you? What is God energizing in your heart and life? You're a lot stronger than you think you are. You can do it. You can do it with God helping you. And I remember there's a song by a wonderful Christian, musician who's since passed away some years ago now, but Rich Mullins, wonderful music. Some of his songs have ended up classics in the Christian church, like staples, classic, Amazing God and different things. But he has one song that says, "You're not as strong as you think you are." And I don't play that one because we're stronger than we think we are. Why? We have Christ in us. Why? Because we have a word from the Lord. Why? Because God told us to do something and we're going to do it. People better get out of the way because we're going to do it. Not that we're qualified. I mean, when he called Peter a fisherman, was he qualified to win thousands to the Lord? No. He spent about a year with Jesus. Day of Pentecost, stood up and preached. 3,000 people got born again. So God can take our little 5 loaves and 2 fishes and multiply it. He can take your ability and multiply it. He can take mine and multiply it, and he's doing it. So you've got to, don't just sweep those things under the rug like, well, I wish I could do that, but I'm kind of a nobody. You're not a nobody. None of us are. We were. Now we got Christ in us. Now we're somebody. We're sons of God, loaded with power, expecting great things. That's what we are. We're God's children. We're handpicked by him. We're given a mission in life. We're not just place markers, going to just live life and, live long enough to pass away at the end of our lives and nobody noticed we were here. That's not us. That's not what we do. We make a difference. We can make a difference. If that's your heart's desire, by golly, you can make a difference. A bigger difference than you think. So there's so many records you could teach for a whole seminar on this one topic. In fact, we might be teaching this stuff in our advance coming up. We'll see. But what was the title? You can do great things. Me? Yes, you. Do you realize who I am? Yes, I realize who you are. You've got Christ in you. You've got God energizing, working in you, both the will to do of his good pleasure. That's who you are. You're stronger than you think you are. You're more capable than you think you are. I remember my second trip to Japan, my wife went with me, Patty, and there was I was taking a little team of about six people or something. And I was really a little bit concerned about it because I didn't know if I wanted to take a team. I didn't feel like I was qualified to take a team. In other words, if I go over there by myself to Japan, if everything messes up, well, it's on me. I'll just recover, you know. But if you've got 6 people with you and everything messes up and you fall flat on your face, now you're affecting the lives of 6 people besides yourself. I don't know, God. I think I'd rather just go by myself. But the team was going, and I heard God in the manifestation say something like, I don't know, he just kind of reminded me or somehow or other, he said, when you go to Japan, I'm going with you. Oh, well, if God's going with me, of course I can do it. Of course I can lead a team of 6. I can lead a team of 50. If God's going, which he is, obviously, he's one sending us. So you got to look at things from God's perspective. Like, he didn't check good old Gideon's bank account, see if they were poor or not. In fact, you remember Elijah came back down to the Shunammite woman, I think it was, and he said, "Give me a piece of bread," when he was hiding out from Ahab. And I don't have the record right in front of me, but the woman says, "Me, really?" He says, I'm coming out here to gather a couple of sticks. I'm going to go home. I got one little cup of meal left. I'm going to make one more meal, and we're going to eat it. My son and I are going to die. This is the person he picked to feed Elijah for a couple of years. He didn't check her bank account, now did he? He didn't check how much food she had. He checked if she would obey or not. Are we going to obey? Are we going to do what God wants us to do? Anyway, that's the teaching for today. And things are just exploding around here. Things are just growing. They're just growing. And we've got a new staff member. I mean, kind of a staff member. We have a young lady that's going to be our accountant, help us with accounting/bookkeeping. And that's great because if you have funds come in, you need to be very careful with what you do with them. In other words, let's say somebody asks a year from now, "Hey, what'd you do with that money?" You just, here it is, here's the report, this is what we did with it. You want to be up and up. You want to make sure you're doing things properly. And I think we need an accountant. I mean, we never needed one before, I don't think, but we're growing to that point. Like Jesus had an accountant, didn't he? Judas carried the money bag and paid all the bills and whatnot. So anyway, that's exciting, and we're probably going to have more staff members too. So what else am I going to share here? Let's see. Here's our let's see if I can find this. There's our website. Yeah, I'm sure you guys probably know about that. Let me look over here at the comments real quick. Here's Jesus trained him. There's good old Anthony. God bless you, sir. There's James. James is going with us to Japan. There's Tony. God bless you, Tony. Here's one. Here's kind of a long comment. I might. I don't know if we'll. Sang it for 13 years. He kept saying "Word over India." And, they had like a little home fellowship, and lo and behold, bam, they've got millions of people coming around, So, workers together with God. There you go. There's some of the comments. So, anyway, God bless you. Let me find my little my little thing here. So, we're great to see everyone, and keep us in your prayers, and we thank you for your financial support. We can't be translating books into Japanese and printing up 100 of them without financial help. You know what I mean? In other words, it's your contributions that help make these things possible. I mean, God energizes, God sends the funds, but he works through people a lot of times, usually. He might work through you, so thank God for that. Thank you for that you're standing with us, and we just praise God for that. Anyway, God bless. Patty will be here Friday, and Joe will be here Saturday morning. And it's been a great week and a great time, and we're going to get excited about the class coming up. God bless.